Hi gang, Rob here. It is the evening of 7 March 2017. Got a bit of a knife review for you all this evening on a brand new pattern from Great Eastern Cutlery. It is the number 13 pattern, which is a medium-sized Congress frame. And this particular one we're looking at is the American Whittler version. This is a special factory order by Roy Humanic of AmericanWhitler.com. This will be Northfield trim, the 13317 Whittler. And as the tube says, it is made of 1095 carbon steel. Let's read the copy, shall we? The Congress Whittler. The Congress pattern knife has been around since the early 1800s. It is truly an American pattern. Foreign cutlery manufacturers began making this knife pattern for the American market, with most being sold in the South. The Congress pattern knife became quite popular, and many variations evolved. Some had squared ends, others had rounded ends. Many can be found with rather fancy bolsters. A few upscale versions from that era sported 6 blades or more. Almost all Congress knives have a sheep's foot master blade. The straight edge blade was useful in a gent's knife as it was in larger tobacco versions, so useful that many knives can be found with 2 of them. Given the swayback feature of the design, it was natural that a Whittler version would be made, but finding one in decent condition is no easy task. Congress pattern Whittlers are hard to come by. Whatever the reason, this rendition is an opportunity to experience the beauty of such a rare knife. With 2 pen blades and a beefy sheep's foot master blade, it is prime for some serious whittling. A fine recreation of American history that will be enjoyed for many years. Signed, Roy Humanic. Okay. Also in the tube comes this button. Northfield Unexcelled American Whittler with that model number. Roy's website around the perimeter of the button. So here's the knife. But before we look at this too closely, I want to kind of show you the whole lineup. And I printed a screenshot that GEC had on their website of the number 13 Congress series. Okay, the ones that they have pictured here are an opposite end, 2-bladed, half Congress with a Warney main and a pen secondary called the Clerk. And that's going to be, I think, engraved in a sort of natural yellowish, beigeish bone with the words office knife. And then there is essentially a 2-blade single-end jack version called the Speaker Jack. In the center, sheep's foot main, pen secondary. And then one called the Whip with a single Warncliffe. Not pictured is the split-back Whittler with its sheep's foot main and 2 pen secondaries. Okay, so we have a Congress frame in 4 variations. Whittler, opposite end jack, single end jack, both 2-blade versions, and then a single blade Warncliffe. What's missing from the lineup? What is missing from the lineup? Well, what's missing from the lineup is a traditional Congress knife. Right? So, a traditional Congress knife. This is a Queen Big Congress from Queen City Classic Cutlery. Let's see here. I just have trouble working around the camera. So there it is. 2 main sheep's foots, 2 secondary pens. The reason they call these a Congress knife is because there is no liner, and all 4 of those blades have to congress together. I think it's rather interesting that GEC has released this new number 13 pattern. Clearly a Congress pattern, but there is no traditional Congress model yet. Very interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this knife specifically. And before we do, there's a reason I bought this. I'm not a huge Congress guy. I have a couple Congresses. This one was given to me by How About the Truth? In lieu of commission for some sale knives. And this is a knife that we did one of our very first traditional knife anthologies about. And it's just so gorgeous. He knows I am in love with laminated veneer sheet abalone. And this was a Bill Howard Queen. And it is made in the early 2000s. And at the time, Queen was recognized as the premium producer of the big Congress, and that's what this is, a little over 4-inch knife. I own this because it came from Steve, and because it might be the finest work Queen ever did. It's a significant knife, but I'm not in love with the pattern. This knife I bought, well, for a pretty similar reason. Not because I'm in love with it per se, but because I am in love with the number 38 Whittler, and I have a brand new, never used, never sharpened number 38 American Whittler. And I also have a never used, never sharpened number 98 American Whittler. So I just had to have a 13 so I could have all the American Whittlers. They also made this 13 not only in this deep chestnut jig bone, but also in Gabon ebony or African blackwood. African blackwood, I believe. I didn't buy one of those. This was enough to tide me over. Okay, so let's talk about the Whittler in the Congress, okay? So, as the tube label says, because of its very slight sway back design, it's a great knife to be used in a draw cut motion, which you would use for a whittling motion. Hidden kicks on the secondaries make a nice generous spot for your thumb, even with that sort of grossly protruding sheep's foot blade. You guys know that I am a Whittler guy. And the Whittler works okay in the Congress pattern. Let's kind of get you a size comparison. You already saw it next to the 38 Grinling Whittler. I'll try to line up the top so you can see. So the Grinling, a little longer, and then here's a Tom's Choice Barlow, which is a little shorter. Okay. Interesting though, this is a single blade TC Barlow, about 409 thousandths thick. This 3-bladed number 13 Whittler, only about 435 thousandths thick. So 3 blades in a package almost as slim as a single-bladed Tom's Choice Barlow. Very efficient use of space. So let's keep going over this thing. Let's take a close look. We've got triple-lined chamfered and nickel-silver bolsters. And I believe Roy calls this the crown shield. Really beautiful. The jigged bone covers look a lot like the 2016 produced peach seed jig bone covers on a Charlie Campagna Tom's Choice Barlow. They look a lot like that. I love this deep chestnut color. It's just beautiful. Lighter browns on the more polished sides and corners of the covers, and deep, deep browns in the jigging. Just gorgeous. Very classic. Transitions on my particular offering are pretty good. Not perfect. Just one corner here that's a bit of a catcher. And let's take a look. This will be the best illustration we've seen to date of the split back Whittler because the liners and the center wedge are in brass. How about that? So you can really see how that center wedge tapers and terminates. I would say that it seems to me that because that brass is a bit softer material, they terminated that spring just a little shorter than they do with a steel wedge. Probably smart. Everything beautifully flush along the back. When they have these in color, these at GEC, they really are dialed in. Everything's just so beautifully done. Let's take a look at our blade centering. Now, unlike other Whittler patterns by GEC, notice that the main sheep's foot stops short of the full width of the blade tangs on the secondaries. That would be very tight if they tried to run that in between the tangs. There might have been a little blade rub. I think I found one spot during assembly. The knife doesn't rub in use, though. It can be safely opened without rub. It might have rubbed right there. But it's a tight knife. I've seen some guys complain on these just a little bit about pull weight. It's a light 5, I'm saying, and as usual with most Whittlers, no half stop, just a cam tang. Decent snap for rather light pull. Notice the mirror polished blades with the American etch, a nice bold, clean etch. That font goes real well with the shape of the blade, I think. Let's see how GEC's coming along with their sharpening, shall we? Yeah, a little noisy and catchy, but it gets the catalog paper done. Not bad at all for a factory edge. Oh no, now it's not never used. Don't tell anyone. So there's a couple things about this particular Congress Whittler that, it's not very ambitious, I guess. And we just talked about one. It's pretty easy to plant that blade in between those two secondaries. They're both kinked to really hug the liners, as you can see, giving that main blade lots of room, stopping short of the tangs. So, not a really ambitious blade set as far as how they fit in the handle. And then the other thing, the joints aren't sunken. I've got an old Traditional Knives anthology video with the larger, I think they were called the Easy Pocket Courthouse Whittler 61s or 62s, I think, earlier GEC production. And those had sunken or near sunken joints, meaning you couldn't really catch your finger or the material of your pocket on the blade tangs like you can with these. So maybe it's because the knife is so slim, there just wasn't room to do that. But not as elegant as the Easy Pocket models, which is a little disappointing because it's a smaller knife. But still, just a credible effort. A nice little gent's knife, I think. So this one's not going to get used. It's more of a collection completer than it is a user. I am kind of interested, though, think I'm kind of interested in this clerk. And I was going to pass on this pattern, I think, when Mike Latham's early reserve came up. If I did register for it, I didn't get it. So I might kind of keep my eyes peeled on the secondary market. Either that or a whip. I don't see much point in a single end jackknife in a Congress handle, but maybe a whip. What do you think of that whip, guys? Might be a good one to buy in a titty for a user to go along with my 47 Viper and my 92 Talon. Maybe. Seems like GEC is really pouring most of their first quarter into this pattern. It's a good size for a Congress knife. This queen is just a huge thing. You know, this isn't going to find it into many pockets. This one certainly might. And it's so nicely made. I haven't even oiled this joint, and it's just, I wouldn't say it's silky smooth. I mean, it's not that smooth, but it'll get there, I think. If a guy was going to actually use this and cycle that blade. And just a very credible effort. It's sort of what you'd expect of the manufacturer of the finest production traditional pocket knives in the world. When they do something new, they pretty much get it right. In fact, they pretty much get it right no matter what. As I said, not their most ambitious pattern over the last couple of years, but a really solid entry into the market. And this is a size of Congress knife they need to have in their lineup. Is a 4-blade Congress, full Congress coming? I bet it is. Don't know when. But the pattern is in the rotation, so to speak. Thought you guys would like to see this before it gets tucked away for perpetuity. That's all for this one, my friends. Grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the word is sharp.